Hello, and it's the Warforge with a review on the book Traitors Hate. Now, the reason why I've kind of held this off is because I wanted a little bit of a play around with it, and I wanted to talk about, well, I wanted to see what the general reaction and consensus is before really jumping in and then on the hype bandwagon and then just like people making for and against arguments and stuff. So, I want to give my perspective of this book. So, Traitors Hate. The first thing, and I will round this off in my conclusion, I believe this book is the step in the right direction. So we'll have a look through some of the pages. Obviously it's hardback, very nice red pages for Berserkers and Death Company, or as I like to call them, Meth Company, with Mephiston, who's also known as Eisenberg. Again, very nice artwork here. You got the model selection, the model showcase already. Got beautiful artwork here, and then you got the story, pages and pages of beautiful story. Well, I say beautiful. Personally, I'm not really into any of the factions that they represent here. I'm not potentially bothered about Crimson Slaughter. I'm not really bothered about the World Eaters. Khan's new model's nice, but that's it. And Skitarii and Cult Mech. As far as I'm aware, I like convert mine into Dark Mechanicum and use them books for my own force. So Adeptus Mechanicus are a bit meh. So what is the story all in all? Well, we'll talk about it now. In general, there's this massive cliche plot device known as a soul cage or something like that. It's basically a giant cage with souls and a few demons inside. And Abaddon needs this just to kickstart off the final 13th Black Crusade. So basically he sends Cronin out as basically cannon fodder, lands straight into the fight, and it does specifically say that they do use Dreadclaw drop pods for planetfall. So just hinting out there, that might be something we might get in the next Codex, maybe? But yeah. It's just something there, and I thought that was a nice added touch. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get a form of drop pod in the next Codex, but we're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about this. So anyway, they start going down, and they start kicking Skitarii ass, even though it's a slow grind, and the gun lines of the Adeptus Mechanicus and Skitarii are very methodical. I can't really pronounce that word, but they're very lethal, and it does provide a sort of grinding stalemate. That's until we'll get him out. We'll whip him out. Whip out my boy out. This guy comes out, and we know who he is. Not those bastards, that bastard himself. And these make planetfall for a massive charge, well, countercharge to the Skitarii lines. And they all land in Dreadclaw drop pods, apart from Khan, who has his own personal Thunderhawk transport. He leaves his Thunderhawk transport, he gets pissed off, because that's what Khan does, and he starts kicking Skitarii arse. So basically we'll go through that, and then this happens. The Blood Angels arrive and offer a massive counter-attack for the Skitarii. Khan fights this guy called Daemor, and he gets pissed off with them and starts taking names. He backhands this guy like a little bitch, and basically gets even more pissed off when some Titans ignore him. Now, from what I understand, when some Titans come around, and Khan gets pissed off because they ignore him, and then he butchers about 2 Warhounds and a Reaver. Now, that's from my understanding. I could be totally bullshitting. I may have misread that somewhere. But that's just from what I've taken in. In the end, they managed to get they managed to be somehow... it's some sort of Imperial victory, but the soul cage is opened. And the Imperial forces haven't figured that out yet. But again, that's from my understanding. So it continues the Black Crusade for another book. So, again, we'll flick through that. That is gorgeous. I've always liked this artwork. It's very grindy. It's very much It feels like they're bringing back the old style of not gothic horror, grim darkness back into the artwork. I like it. My favourite bit's this bit with the bolt gun firing into the guardsman and seeing what an actual bolt gun does. That torso, his upper torso, doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. That's what a bolter shell does. It lobotomizes and absolutely annihilates guardsmen. You got some guardsmen getting decapitated here. The Chaos Marine looking directly towards you because you just don't give a fuck about that expendable guardsman, etc., etc. Again, this feels like it's kicking back to more the grim dark stages of art. That's really nice. I like that. Abaddon, well, that's copied and pasted from the Chaos Marine Codex. I kind of hope that when they do redo Abaddon, obviously they're redoing everything from fine cast to plastic now. I hope Abaddon becomes on a 50mm base, and he has this similar pose where he's literally clutching a dead Marine like that. To me, that's very Abaddon. That's like, that is, in Talon of Horus, he's very charismatic, but this shows his like true nature of being a utter tyrant. So I like that. Again, more artwork. Again, I like this one. This is one of my favourite new pieces of art. Just the whole Black Legion Chaos Lord, which looks exactly like Cronin, with Chosen that look exactly like Cronin's Chosen in Black Legion colours, fighting against more Blood Angels. Again, some nostalgia for the bit of Veterans of the Long War. Some more nostalgia. Always been a funny one, that picture, when you've got a Demon Prince with a bolter. Even though Demon Princes have never came with like some sort of bolter for them on the model for WYSIWYG. But still, quite pretty. More models, more models. Let's skip all this. That's harking back to 4th edition. Oh boy, those were the days, weren't they? Forces of Chaos. First rule you're hitting the head with is the Renegade Knight. Now the Renegade Knights is sort of a faction of themselves that last about, you guessed it, that many pages. So it's about 2-4 pages if we include the artwork. Restrictions is you must have at least 1 Lord of War for a Sworn Knight detachment. The maximum is 3. And they basically get preferred enemy Imperial Knights, but they also give Imperial Knights preferred enemy against them. Is that a formation you want to choose? First points, probably not. You probably want to stick to 1 and then just shoot stuff, really. You can ally these with Chaos Marines and Demons, as far as I know. They treat each other. Chaos Marines are basically battle brothers and only ally with Imperial Knights as come the Apocalypse. So Renegade Knight. So as I see this, hefty price tag, 325 points, but you get what you pay for. What's different about Imperial Knights and these is Imperial Knights have variants, but the Renegade Knight's more customizable. We can do double up on weapons. We can have 2 Avenging battle cannons, rapid fire battle cannons. We can have 2 where is it? Avenger Gatling cannons. That'll be 24 Rendon Strength 6 AP3 shots at 30-inch range. Now technically you could say that is 42-inch range if you move the Knight. So that's a 42-inch threat range with 24 shots. Even against an invisibility, I think a few are going to hit. It's not twin-linked, unfortunately. And personally, I like that loadout. I also like this loadout of double rapid-fire battle cannons. I like this more for the Michael Bay aesthetic, though, because you can just imagine the Team America theme tune going off in the background with explosions in the background as the mid-ground, the Imperial Knights, just standing there, similar to how Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen blows up all the Viet Cong. You can just see this, just unload its payload on a load of Imperial Guardsmen or something like that. With like Ride of the Valkyries in the background or Team America theme in the background, just having explosions everywhere. Fuck yeah. So again, pretty pictures. This basically updates the Chaos Predators and Vindicators to basically be exactly like Loyalists. It's a change that's very much welcomed, in my opinion. It's always nice to have a little bit of a boost. And basically, that's exactly the same as Loyalists. They become a large apocalyptic blaster with ignores cover, and these get Monster Hunter and Tank Hunters when you have a full squad of 3 of each. So you've got 3 Vindicators, you get that. If you get 3 Predators, you get Kill Shot. And Line Breaker Bombardment, it's a special rule for the Chaos Vindicators. So now we have the Decurion. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. So yeah, basically what you need is 1 core, 1 auxiliary, and then that's all you need for this. What's fun about this is if you've got any of the supplement codexes like Black Legion and Crimson Slaughter, you can count this as their detachments as well. So what I like to do now is I like getting Black Legion book, where it forces you to take Veterans of the Long War, but because of Death to the False Emperor, you get Veterans of the Long War for free. In addition, you also get Hatred Armies of the Imperium. That's huge. That is massive. Massive, I tell you. And why is that massive? Because that doesn't just apply to just Marines and Imperial Guard. It applies to Space Marines. It applies to Grey Knights, Dark Angels, Blood Angels. What would you say as well? Grey Knights. It applies to Inquisition. It applies to Admech from Skitarian Cult Mechanicus. It applies to Astra Militarum and Tempestus Psychons. That's the Officio Assassinorium. That's about 11 factions off the top of my head that you get hatred to. And because that's also free, the only really points tax is the formations itself. That's great. In addition, you've got Path to Glory. Now, this is a great one if you take Chaos Lord for this, which you have to, in my opinion. Basically, you pick him, you pick the Chaos Warband, you pick him, and you get your roll twice, and you can choose either on the Chaos Boon table, and you can choose to either take one of the upgrades or both. So if you get Spawn Hood and, say, Fleshbane, you can just choose the Fleshbane and ignore the Spawn Hood result. Pardon me. So again, that's brilliant. To me, that's fucking brilliant. It has to be Champion of Chaos. So there's no mention of Gift of Mutation in here as well. Technically, with Gift of Mutation, if you take it on Chaos Lord, you can get it 3 times then. Because you get Champion of Chaos twice and then Gift of Mutation before the game begins. Or on the first turn, I believe. Again, all these detachments and stuff will go into as the pages flick by. The only thing I'll address now is Spawn is its own thing. Veterans of the Legions are their own thing. They don't have formations per se. And Lords of the Black Crusade are its own thing as well, being Chaos Lord, Sorcerer, Demon Prince, one of the following. These guys also, with the little numbers next to them, can be exchanged for any of the special characters, basically. So Iron Man may replace the Sorcerer, Chaos Lord may be replaced by Khan or Typhus or Huron or Abaddon, etc., etc. And if it says number 3, Abaddon or Typhus may be taken instead of Chaos Lord or Sorcerer, that's also quite very nice. So obviously, this is copied and pasted from the Chaos Marine Codex, and all it is just an update for this. And Lord of Skulls, everyone knows the grand 888 here, just because it's the Khorne favoured number, and this is taken, I think, from Escalation and whatever else it's been taken from. So now we have the Chaos Warband. Chaos Warband, I'll go through the minimum stuff. 1 Chaos Lord, optional for 1 Sorcerer, at least 1 unit of the following chosen may be from this list. So that's chosen, Chaos Terminators or Possessed, maximum 3, minimum 1, minimum 2 to a maximum of 6 units of Chaos Space Marines, and minimum 1 or minimum 3 units of the following list: Raptors, Warp Towns, and Chaos Bikers, and then minimum of 1 unit and maximum 3 units chosen from this list of Hereteks and Hellbrute. This seems a bit like it's trying to mesh in and trying to force you to take units until you realise what the formation is. Well, you got favourite icons, which basically allow you to roll, as I've just said, allow you to roll twice on the chart. You can pick 1 or 2 of the results. Objective secured. That's massive. That is so big right now. So you're telling me that raptors that can move 12 inches, warp tamers that can move 12 inches, and bikers that can move 12 inches, or 18 inches for a biker unit for flat out, you can easily get to an objective. And because you've got objective secured, fuck what your opponent has, you're getting that objective. Unless, of course, they also have objective secured. But the way the formations are, that's very rarely used in any formation. So this is a good one. This is a, well, if we go back 2 pages, that has to be a core choice. So you must pick this or this, or this, or this. No, not that. Sorry, I apologise. No, just the first 3. So it's just that or that. Maelstrom of Gore. Well, if you want to play World Eaters, this is fantastic. Basically, you gain a fleet. The minimum units you can have is either a Chaos Lord or a Khan Betrayer. The restrictions are the Chaos Lord must be given Mark of Khorne, but it's free for this formation. Or Khan the Betrayer. I would say Khan the Betrayer because it's Khan, and Khan gets pissed, and when he gets pissed, he does fun things. Minimum of 4, maximum of 8 units of Khorne Berserkers. Khorne Berserkers are typically seen as expensive, but with this formation, I think they're very good, in my opinion. But again, I think this formation requires a little bit of playtesting and playing around. You probably won't get this perfect first time. If you do, then you're some sort of Sun Tzu, so good for you. So basically, what are the special rules? You get fleet and you add +3 to your charge distance. That's fantastic. Adding +3, that's something that Slaanesh units do. Adding it to a Khorne unit to really hack into the 4. I can't argue with that. If you're a World Eaters player, you're going to love it. Red Rain. Basically, if this is locked in, combat with a unit, once per battle, at the start of your movement phase, you get to fight an enemy at your initiative, and they don't get to fight back. It's sort of like a Persuade or reverse Wolfen rule, if that makes sense. You literally just kill and just kill. You get to fight a unit that can't fight back. Now, with volume of attacks from Khorne Berserker units, I can't argue against that. To me, this is going to be an expensive formation, but it's going to be a hella good. Hella good. So we'll go to the next one. Lost and the Damned. Minimum 1 Dark Apostle. Minimum 4, maximum 9 units of cultists. So, Tide of Traitors. Basically, when a unit of cultists die, roll a dice on a 4 or more, they come back from reserves, basically. And that's actually fantastic. Now imagine if you could imagine that you've got Typhus, and you can combo this with the zombies, with maximum unit of zombies, and then 3 minimum units of whatever. Then give them Zealot because of this unit, because of that rule. Within 6 inches of all units, he gives Zealot. The Apostle does. Zealot full of Plague Zombies, 30-man unit. That's going to be one of the biggest tar pits you're going to see in this game, in my opinion. And it can come back. Make of that what you will. Hellforge Warp Pack. Again, Warpsmith. Minimum 3 units of the following. Hellbrute, Maulfiend, Forge Fiend, Defiler. I think a lot of people are going to go for either the Maulfiends and Forge Fiends because they're sort of the middle ground between Hellbrute and Defiler. They have the versatility and flexibility and the synergy to really pump out firepower or go for the kill. But that does mean you are leaving your Warpsmith behind. So, Master of Mechanical Warpcraft. Basically, they can choose to do Demon Forge twice, which is fantastic. Warp Pack Alpha. They get... Basically, designate one vehicle as the alpha, and that gains a 4-up invuln save and the character type. And if it gets destroyed, all of the models in the unit get rage as they get angry as their leaders died. It's very expensive. It's expensive-esque depending on what vehicles you do. If you go borderline cheap as chips, 3 Maul Fiends and a Warpsmith, I feel this is going to be great. You throw them out there. If one dies, you buff up the rest. I can't argue against that. Helldrake Terror Pack. I like this, but it's one of those ones where I have trouble fitting in flies in my list because I usually typically use points for other things. I like to use models that I rather want rather than the ones that synergize well, I suppose. Well, not synergize well, but I'd rather use models that I want than rather models that I don't. But again, I digress. So minimum of 2 Helldrakes, Rise and Terror. Basically, units that are within 12 inches of a Helldrake, their leadership is reduced by 1. If they have 2 Helldrakes within 12 inches of one unit, then that leadership's reduced by 2, and so on and so forth towards the maximum unit. Now, fear is one of those rules where it really depends on your area, because this is playing along for fear, especially with the Raptor Talon. What it does is, if you want fear and your armies and the player you're playing against is like Genestealer Cult or Imperial Guard, they might have a bit of stubborn here and there, but ultimately they're taking those fear tests. If you reduce their leadership by so much, like I've managed to figure out that if you get 3 of these Helldrakes, and 2 of those Helldrakes for minimum unit, 3 Helldrakes, and a Warp Talon, and 2 units of Raptors, you can turn leadership 10, the leadership of a Necron, down to 5. That's huge. Now, if your opponent's got stubborn and stuff, that's a factor to take into account, but overall, if you're reducing their leadership by so much, that reroll won't matter. It'll literally just be, they'll fail it twice, which is something I can't argue against. Well, I can't argue for or against it. And I say that because it's one of those ones where you need to not necessarily build a list around it, but you need to weave that formation into your list. It can't just be slapped there, ham-fisted like that. So it is rather more of a scalpel than a hammer blow. And it is a very good formation for what it is. You've then got the Cult of Destruction, all the Obliterators and Mutilators. Minimum 3 units of Obliterators or Mutilators, minimum of 1 Warpsmith. And basically what happens here is, as far as I know, they can shoot twice, basically, at the same turn, at the same unit, I believe. And it's the same in reverse for the Mutilators. They can assault twice. You first carry out the first attack, then you carry out the second attack for just to be very tidy, really. And the way to unlock this is have a Warpsmith within 8 inches of the unit of Mutilators or Obliterators, activate it, and then you get to shoot twice at the same target. As far as I know, you need to choose a different weapon, though. Yeah, you need to pick a different weapon because of the Obliterator and Mutilator rules. Yeah, the unit must use different weapons for 2 different sets of attacks. So, Fist of the Gods. A lot of people love and hate this one. Minimum 1 Warpsmith. Minimum of 3 units from the following: Predators, Vindicators, or Land Raiders. From what I've seen is a lot of people seem to take maximum unit of Vindicators and a Land Raider to just really plough ahead. If you stick a Warpsmith in it, just go combat speed all units within 12 inches of the Warpsmith get a 6-up invuln save, which is more of a Sisters of Battle rule because they get standard 6-up invuln saves. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you need it and it pulls off, you're glad you have it. And then you get Unholy Blessings. No. Sorry about that, I got a bit of phlegm. Basically, that's +1 bonus to repair vehicles from Warpsmiths in this formation. Now I'll go on to my favourite one. This is my favourite as a Night Lords player. I swear by this, and I decree that this formation will be used as much as possible. So minimum is 1 Chaos Lord, and a minimum of 3 units from the following: Raptors Warp Talons. The restrictions are the Chaos Lord must be equipped with a jump pack, but the jump pack is free in this formation. That's great. Special rules: they get Deep Strike and declare charges from Deep Strike in the assault phase, but it is disorganised so they don't get +1 to charge. However, because Deep Strike is a universal special rule and not a movement, and this is a key thing, you can use the jump packs for assault as soon as the Deep Struck, because using universal special rule is not using the jump pack for its movement. So you can basically, in a way, the disorganised charge is basically a trade-off. So instead of getting +1 to attack, from one perspective you could say that instead of that, you get Hammer of Wrath instead. Personally, I find this a fair trade-off. Now, a lot of people might disagree with that because they want to compare to Loyalists, to which I say, at least we've got something. Yes, so this is basically, if you charge 2 units into 1 unit, that unit will be taken a fear test and subtract 2 from the leadership value. So you're turning leadership 10 to 8, 8 to 6, and 6 to 4. Again, it doesn't sound like much, and it really depends on what you're playing against. But when you get fear tests, it's a lot of fun to see them needing 5s to hit because their weapon skill is 1. I think it's just fantastic in my opinion. And so forth, so help me, 2 units of Raptors and a unit of Warp Talons. Have my own little funny Death Star, and then let's get cracking with it. So I love this formation. This is like my little thing. Terminator Annihilation Force. I love this one. I like Terminators. I like this unit. Well, this one. So basically, what is it? So, minimum of Chaos Lord or Sorcerer, and they must be equipped with Terminator armor, but the Terminator armor is free. Minimum of 3 units of Chaos Terminators. You can choose to swap out the Lord for Typhus or Abaddon. So again, you could have Abaddon in this unit doing stuff. So basically, at the start of the game, you choose a unit, and these Terminators and these units gain hatred against that specific unit. Now, again, that doesn't sound like much when you've declared that you have hatred against armies of the Imperium, but if you're playing against the likes of Eldar or something, this is a beautiful, fantastic rule. In addition, you can also fire one type of gun from... Well, you can fire one sort of weapon as soon as a Deep Strike. So if they've all got like 4 or 5 combi flamers, they can fire the combi flamers as soon as a Deep Strike. If they manage to destroy the target that they have hatred against, they can choose a different target after. And that's basically all the way over there. And basically, anything else is basically, if that unit then gets destroyed, you can choose another one. And if that gets destroyed, choose another one, etc, etc. This one, I'm a bit... it is a one that you kind of need to build a list around, not interweave, not slap in. It's literally one you've got to build around. Favour of Chaos. Basically, units within 12 inches of the Demon Prince from this formation gain all their mutations from the mutation table. And that seems great in theory, but the problem is there are 3-up save units that need to foot slog. And the problem with foot slogging is like I've said before, and I'll say it again, there's a wider variety and access to AP3 weapons than there were in previous editions. So foot slogging isn't really a viable tactic anymore, unless you just max out on this. And this is why I say this is more of a, not spammy, this is more of a formation that you build your list around. So if you wanted this, you might be taking multiple auxiliary choices of this formation, just to get a tide of possessed, all foot slogging, all slamming across into enemy lines. And then you've got the Trinity of Blood. That's 3 Lords of Skulls. And I haven't really read this, but basically, if they're locked in combat, this receive any units locked in combat with this formation are engulfed in Storm of Rage, basically. And they suffer Strength 6, AP4 hits, with Ignores, Cover, and Soul Blaze special rules equal to the number of models in the unit. The wounds are randomly allocated, and then Crushing Volleys. What model from the Trinity of Blood have the Twin Linked special rule, and basically get Twin Linked weapons, and if they are used to attack a target that has already been attacked by another model from the formation area in the shooting phase. So, what do we think of this one? Well, if you select Maelstrom of Gore, if you want like something a bit more less unbound, then pick Maelstrom of Gore for this one for Full World Eater's Force. I know I'm stereotyping here, but hey, because this is 888 times by 3, and I can't be asked to do the math on that. That's a hell of a lot of points. That's probably around 3,000 or just around 3,000 points. Because it's near enough 1,000 points anyway for one model of these. So around 3,000, you're only taking this for Apocalypse games or as the formation by itself. You're not going to be fielding this many often. Or if you do, it's going to be a serious case of rock, paper, scissors, just like Imperial Knights, in my opinion. Here's all the weapons. Like I say, people should already know what the weapons do. And then you've got the psychic powers. Oh, great. These are fantastic. So I'm going to pause the video here, and then we're going to start a new one just to continue. Okay, so we're continuing on from the psychic powers. Psychic powers here, so we've got Sinistrum. These are basically effectively copied and pasted from the Angels of Death book with Chaos names on them. So this one seems to be more buffing. This is Blessing. You reroll saving throws on the Psyker. This is a shooting attack of Strength 6 AP4 with Pinning at 20-inch range. This is a Blessing. All friendly units within 12 inches of the Psyker have Fearless and Adamantine Will special rules, which is fantastic in the opponent's psychic phase, especially when you fight against sudden Tyranids. All friendly units within 12 inches of Psyker also have a 4 invulnerable save against any wounds caused by Witchfire power. So it is very much the anti-Psyker psychic power. If that makes sense. That's a Blessing. Adds +2 to the Psyker's strength, toughness, and initiative and attacks characteristics. Again, that's a really buffy one. Warpler. This is a Malediction within 24 inches. Basically, if the scores are drawn or the result is higher than the enemy's Psykers on once you add mastery levels onto a single dice roll for a dice off, if you draw or score higher, then the target suffers a wound with no saves any kind allowed, and once the power is in effect, can only successfully manifest psychic warp charge points on roll of a 6. If it's 3 points higher, so say if you've got level 3 Psyker and your opponent's got a level 2 Psyker and you manage to score 9 and your opponent scores 4, So if it's at least 3 points higher than that of the enemy psykers, then they lose a psychic power. That's quite big, especially against stuff like Grey Knights, where they have Brotherhood of Psykers, which are usually level 1. So you basically fire that and they lose the psychic power. You could say that they can lose force or their other one, and that's a very big impact on those types of armies. Death Hex. Basically -2 penalty on invuln saves, modifying it -2. This is big on Death Stars. Fantastic. I like this one. Heretic, you're picking this if you're a lover of Iron Warriors and vehicles. That's all I can say. Like I say, we'll go through this. The first one is pick a vehicle within 24 inches. And then the vehicle ignores crew shaken and stunned results and has the power of Machine Spirit special rule. Wow, okay. Did not see that one. I must have misread that one. That's bigger than I thought. Power of the Machine Spirit on Chaos things. Yes, please. If the vehicle already has this special rule, instead increase ballistic skill by 1, so ballistic skill 5. Not gonna lie, that's nice. So if the Psyker is embarked in transport, then he can only do it on the transport he's embarked upon, so you can do it on Land Raiders. Ballistic skill 5 Land Raiders, not bad, although I would say ballistic skill 5 Vindicators would be absolutely amazeballs, especially if it's maximum unit 3 that you just do the Apocalypse Blast on. Scrap Code Curse. Basically, it's focus switch fire, target enemy vehicle within 18 inches. That suffers D3 strength 1 AP dash hits with the Haywire special rules. Basically, D3 Haywire hits. Again, that's quite nice. If you manage to get 3 hits off of that, not too bad. Okay, so basically, target enemy friendly vehicle within 12 inches, that's a blessing, and then you can restore either a hull point or repair weapon or repair mobilized. In addition, the target vehicle has it will not die special whilst the power is in effect. Again, this is just saying that if it's embarked in transport, you can only pick the transport. Fresh Metal Hide is a blessing, target a single friendly unit within 24 inches. And then, whilst the power is in effect, add 1 to all arm saves, front, sides, and rear, or armour values, sorry, front, sides, and rear. That's armour 15 Land Raiders. Oh, that's nerdgasmic. I'm literally having a nerdgasm right there. Armour 15. Oh, I'm getting the chills now. Whew. That's nice. Okay, warp charge 2, but okay. If the Psyker is embarked on transport, again, only can pick itself. That's a beam, 18 inches, strength 1, haywire. Flare Storm is a focus switch fire. The target single enemy unit within 18 inches. The target immediately loses D3 hull points. For each hull point that the vehicle loses, the Psyker inflicts D6 strength 4 AP6 hits. The rending special roll on a single enemy unit within 12 inches of the target vehicle. Whoa, okay. So basically what it's saying is your vehicle's being targeted and then it's like a Tesla effect. It just leaps onto other units. That can be fantastic if the positioning of the enemy units is the way you want it. It's nice, but if you like vehicles, it's even better. If you don't like vehicles, I wouldn't suggest it. So, Ectomancy. Well, you got a blessing for the first one, Empiric Shield. Blessing, 3-up invuln save, whilst the power is in effect. Not gonna lie, I like a 3-up invuln save. I like it. Again, that's a 9-inch haywire shot, strength 1. This one is another Witchfire, strength 5, 18 inches, AP4, D6, lethal discharge. Pardon me. And then roll a dice for every other unit within 6 inches of the target after the attack has been resolved. And on a result of 4 or more, the unit suffers D6 strength 5 hit before hit. So again, it's another Tesla ability that just you target one unit and then it just leaps onto other units. That's very nice. Infernal Claws. It's a blessing, and whilst the power is in effect, adds +1 to both strength and attacks. In addition, each time the Psyker hits an enemy unit in close combat, that unit suffers 2 additional strength 5 AP -hits. So if you kit your Psyker out with a good, decent amount of attacks, and then use Infernal Claws, again, like this one's another Tesla effect. It starts bouncing off and starts off with minimal dice and ends up growing that dice amount or that dice pool for volumes of attacks. Ghost Storm, this is a blessing. Can target a single unit, target a single friendly unit within 18 inches. If the target's zooming, sweeping or locked in combat, it can immediately make or move within 18 inches. The unit can move all over any models in terrain as if they were open ground, but cannot end its movement on other models or impassable terrain. Any model that starts or ends in this move in difficult terrain must take dangerous terrain test. Unit cannot charge, and models in the unit count as having moved in the movement phase for the purposes of shooting weapons in the shooting phase. Okay, so basically it gets you a chance to get your units out of there. So if you've got, say, a Helldrake stuck in being attacked by a Dreadnought, for example, there's a chance that you can get that Helldrake out of there, which is big. It's big because it's subtle, and it's always the case in the rules. The devil's in the detail. It might not seem big on paper at first, but when you're playing the game and you see the situations appear in front of you, if you've got that power, you're going to be glad of that power. So the last one for Ectomancy is Soul Switch. That's basically a blessing that has a 24-inch range. And basically, it's a swapsy out one. Imagine like the Genestealer cult rule, except a bit more accurate. Basically, you get the model, you move all the models of the target unit except one, swap it around with the sorcerer, and the 2 units basically swap around. And, oh sorry, hang on. Within 6 inches and within unit coherence of the Psyker. So it's not exactly the same point, but it's within 6 inches, which grant you a little bit more movable flexibility. No, there's no real deep strike here. It's a more accurate version of deep strike, basically. If unit is locked in combat, displaced unit is now locked in combat. So basically, if you're swapping the units out, your Psyker then gets put into the locked in combat unit. The one that is not locked in combat is teleported away somewhere else. Otherwise, you can't place it within an inch of enemy models. And if either unit was swooping, they are now gliding. So you can do this on flyers as well. Unless locked in combat, these units can charge in the same turn. And that's a big thing. That basically says, well, it gives the role of this psychic power as more of assault-based armies. So you could have this for command on a sorcerer with Maelstrom of Gore, teleport Khan somewhere else, and then charge Khan, and with a unit of Zerkers. You're gonna love that. And I think this is the final one. Yep, fine. Yep, because I haven't got the objectives after that. Final one, G Mortis. Layer Leech is the first one. Warp Charge 1 is a blessing that targets non-vehicle characters within 18 inches of the target immediately. Regains D3 wounds lost earlier during the battle. In addition, if the power's in effect, the target and all models in the unit have It Will Not Die, which is very, very powerful if you've got multiple wound models. So you can target Abaddon. Abaddon gets It Will Not Die. That's a big thing. It adds a bit more buff to more of the special characters and HQs, in my opinion. Then you've got Rupture. Rupture's a malediction within 24 inches of the Psyker. And choose the point where the power is manifested. Each unit within 6 inches of that point immediately suffers strength 5 hit before hit, with ignores cover special rule. Hits are randomly allocated. In addition, whilst the power is in effect, all terrain, including open ground within 6 inches of the point, is chosen to be dangerous terrain, which really is nice. Again, it's one of those rules that are very subtle. It doesn't look like much on paper, but in terms of unit placement, this is a big thing. Very big. This can potentially force your opponent to move where you want it to move. You can potentially manipulate your opponent to move in places where you want to move. So if you want them to move them towards your Khorne Berserkers, for example, do it. If you want them to move away from an objective or make it harder to get to an objective, do it. Not guaranteed, they might still go through terrain, but it's nice to have. Torture of Worlds. Malediction. All enemies within 18 inches. Whilst the power is in effect, all target enemy units are tracked as if they move in difficult terrain. Furthermore, the targets cannot run, turbo boost or move flat out, and it has no effect on swooping or zooming units. So again, that's really slowing your opponent down. It's quite nice, I believe. Then you got this one, Earthly Anthema. It's a blessing that targets a single friendly unit within 24 inches. Was positive effect, the unit has the move through cover special rule, and all of its weapons have the ignores cover special rule. In addition, the unit does not need line of sight, so you don't need line of sight to attack the enemy unit. In the shooting phase, as long as the target is in range, then it can be shot at. Very nice. So you could use that on tanks, you could use that on Terminators, you could use that on Obliterators. Those are the top things that stand out from my mind at this moment, and that can be quite big. Situational, I believe, but if once you call it, it's great. The Witchfire, Profane Munitions. It's a Witchfire. Target a building or a single piece of ruins within 24 inches. If you targeted a building, roll a dice on a 1 to 3. The building suffers a glancing hit on a 4 to 6, suffers a pen. If you target a piece of ruins terrain, roll a dice for each unit that is even partially within those units. On a 4 or more, that unit suffers D6. That unit suffers D6 strength 6 AP dash hits if they are struck by fallen debris. So basically, any units within inside are struck by D6 strength 6 AP dash hits, and these hits are randomly allocated. World Drive, and I think this is the biggest one because this is where you can slingshot Renegade Knights. Upcharge 3, target a piece of terrain within 24 inches, and then move that terrain within 24 inches, but it can't be within 1 inch away. It can't be within 1 inch from other models or terrain features. Any units that have all their models in place or a terrain are moved with, the terrain is moved with it. If a unit has a portion of models that occupy the terrain piece, they are immediately moved off it by the player in the same manner as disembarking from a vehicle. Treating the edge of the terrain as an access point. And ending the move within 6 inches of terrain piece and incoherency. Models moved in this way must then take a dangerous terrain test. And the beautiful thing about this is that it doesn't say anything about assaulting. So, what you can do is get a Renegade Knight, put it on a Sky Shield landing pad, get a Psyker, get World Writhe, and slingshot your Imperial Knight 24 inches. Sorry, your Renegade Knight 24 inches. And if it's a close combat one with bog standard, Thunderstrike Gauntlet and the Avenger Chain Blade Fisty Chain something, then it's going to be absolute wreck and face. You just, again, you slingshot it, you move 12 inches, and then you assault and have fun. That's very cheesy. It's a point sink, but if it works, it will work. So it is one of those ones where it is situational at best, but it looks like a good bit of fun, especially when you can manipulate your opponent's terrain. Well, you can manipulate your opponent's movements depending on what terrain you use and where you place it. So the final bit here, before going to an overall, is that we have the objectives. So basically, if you've got the objective cards of whatever, supremacy or tactical, you replace 11 to 16 of these ones. So, if you destroy an enemy unit, you gain a victory point. If you successfully manifest a psychic power, you gain a victory point. You roll dice for this, score 1 victory point if you control an objective marker that correlates with your dice roll. Gears of the Gods, 1 victory point if you rolled on the boon table during your turn. If 3 or more units rolled on the boon table, score D3 points instead. Score D3 victory points if you control an objective marker that was in control of your opponent at the start of the turn. Score 1 victory point at the end of the turn if the warlord rolled either the unworthy authoring or spawn hood result on the chaos boon table. So if you get nothing, you get a victory point. If you turn spawn, you get a victory point. If you turn to DM Prince, it's D3 plus 3 victory points, which is massive. People should be taking this. No exceptions. You either have secure 1 to 6, or you can have these, which you can potentially get D3 plus 3 victory points. And if your warlord rolled any other result in the chaos boon table during your turn, score D3 victory points. That's just worth the risk, really. You either score 1 victory point for becoming spawn or getting nothing. You get D3 for anything else, and you get D3 plus 3 if you turn into a Demon Prince. That's awesome. I'm sorry, that's really, really, really cool. Just remember, though, that it is only for the warlord and not HQ choices. Now, if you swap these out for objectives 1 to 6, from whatever, it encourages a more aggressive playstyle for a start, but it also gives you free victory points away, because if you're using warp charge points for manifesting psychic powers, you get victory points for just doing that. For doing stuff that is natural, that's glorious. As it says there, that's glorious. So yeah, that is the book. That is Traitors Hate, with more red blood angels. So what do I think of the book? All in all, this is a step in the right direction. Do I feel it is the answer to every problem Chaos has? No. The reason for that is because this is going from the critique onto the more light-hearted, onto the more positive stuff. This is a 7th edition formation book on a 5th edition codex by design. What I mean by that is you're putting these formations onto units that are already expensive because they're pointed towards the meta or the style of 5th edition and 6th edition. I know it's a 6th edition codex, but you can tell that the Chaos Marine book was designed for 5th edition in mind. Just 6th edition came out and slapped on some experimental 6th edition rules onto them. So yeah, this is a good book, in my opinion. Despite it being on really overcosting units, formations really overcosting units, it's still a good book. It gives the buffs that you want. If you want to assault from reserve, you can. If you want to play the fear game or the mindfuckery game with certain psychic powers, you can do that. If you want to really get at...
Okay, so to round this off, a nice little conclusion of this little book of hate, as the name suggests. So, hello there, there you go, phone. Not phone, pen, because we always have to point something with the pen. Anyhow, so, overall, this book is a step in the right direction. And I say it's a step in the right direction because of the formations. Now, to answer a question, does this fix all the problems Chaos Space Marines have? No. Simply no. If we're going by that perception or that point, to really discuss the point, it is roughly putting a plaster over a knife wound. The problems are still there, they're just not as visible, you could say. Depending on how big the plaster is, really. But hey. Or how big you perceive the plaster. But anyway, what this book does is it recognises the problems, or some of the fundamental problems that each unit has with in the formations. And this is what the main point that I like about this book. The main point is it addresses that it has problems like Raptors that are foot slogging units because you couldn't usually deep strike an assault. But foot slogging, unless you spam troops, like or if you're a horde army essentially with plenty of cover saves to go around, like orcs or Tyranids, you usually get swept off the board either by mass cannon fire or whatever, because with the inclusion of knights and, well, how should I say it, knights and Lords of War with bigger templates and a lot more, especially in bigger or more evolved points, I'll say, because now roughly the average game went from 1500 to 1750 to 2500. Why? Because people want to play with the toys, they want to play with the special rules in here, and vice versa for your opponent. Your opponent wants to play Decurion for the Necrons and stuff, hence why that's the average pointer in the game. And when the points evolve, that means that there's a lot more volume of fire going around, and the one thing that power armor can't deal with is volume of fire. You put 12 strength 6 AP3 shots from an Avenging Gatling cannon, those bodies will go down. So, but they have addressed aspects like that by saying you can now deep strike and assault the same turn. However, you do get penalties. Now, I just addressed one formation, but if we go through, I'll do another one to roughly affirm my point. So if we go down to Renegade Knights as well, which I'll talk about as well as the second point that I like about this book. So we'll go down and we'll have a look. So we'll have a look at Chaos Warband, because that's your core. That's what you want. So the Chaos Warband, you get Favoured Scions and Objective Secured. One of the main things that people really didn't bother paying points for was the Gift of Mutation chart on your stuff. This allows you to roll twice at the start of every phase, giving you the most out of your special rules for what Chaos has, to what makes it so niche in this current codex, in this current edition. But I'll get to why it's a bit 50-50 towards the end of the video. But we got something that addressed the point that nobody takes this and now people take this. In addition, we have Objective Secured, which is really underestimated. If there is one underestimated rule in the entire edition of this game, it is this. The amount of times because obviously I've kept this back a while before jumping in like everyone else, this review, because I wanted to play around with it and I wanted to give like final assumptions rather than just constantly hypothesizing. I'd rather give you all a little bit of experience, or like my experiences, to give a better judgment of what I like and what I dislike. But anyway, the amount of times I've went with Raptors and just went, right, Objective Secured, got it. Sorry, not Raptors, Chaos Bikers. I used Raptors in my first ever game because I didn't have the Bikers, but now I've got the Bikers and I've used them. They do a lot. Something that always catches my opponents out is those Hereteks. I use a squad of las cannon Hereteks. Keep them at the back, have an objective at the back, score victory points. It's so easy. You got Terminators here, you've got Sorcerers, you've got Bikers. You know, you can really mount up on the bikes here and just flat out MSU spam and stuff. So again, it has addressed issues that are with the current 5th edition codex. Well, I say 5th edition and we'll go into that in just a minute. 5th edition codex, and it's given us something that we can actually work around with. A second thing that I like about this book, before we go on to more like critiques, I would say. I wouldn't say like bashing, but I wouldn't say like I don't know if it'll be constructive or not, but hey, you want a review, this is my review. One thing I like is Renegade Knights. What I do particularly like about the Renegade Knights as opposed to the Imperial Knights is, yes, the Imperial Knights get all sorts of variants and some formations or whatever, but we've got the customizability. For example, we can put 2 Avenging Gatling cannons on, we can put 2 rapid fire battle cannons on, we could slap into, well, standard you get the 2D close combat weapons, then you just mount a carapace weapon. It's a lot more customizable, and I like that. That addresses what Chaos should be, and I like that as an ally as well. It's a tough little unit. Well, I say a little. You know, it is still a Titan tech in all respects, but it is a good unit that really makes your opponent think twice of whether it wants to take it down or not, and really makes your opponent look at the objectives and see if the objectives are worth it or not because of the threat of this. So we'll go on to the more critiques now. Like I said before, with the plaster wound analogy, this is very much a plaster on a knife wound. It has addressed that there are problems, but it hasn't addressed one of the main points. And that's the fact that Chaos Marines are overcosted. For example, 70 points for a tactical squad in the vanilla codex gets you a Space Marine stat line, combat doctrines, chapter tactics, and they shall know no fear. For 75 points, we have Space Marine stat line and Champion of Chaos, which is kind of detrimental, both lore-wise and game-wise, to a degree. Obviously, there's certain situations and individual differences taken into account, but on the majority, on the whole, it still basically doesn't really help us. So for 5 more points, we've got that, and with the chance to maybe become a Demon Prince. And if now for the more specific stuff that we have, like Veterans of the Long War and Marks, we have to pay for them. So again, that bumps up the points. Now, if you're taking Traitors Hate, yes, the Veterans of the Long War is free, which again, it addresses a point, it addresses a problem, and it sort of corrects that, which is nice and all, but we're still paying for marks, and with marks comes points, and when points comes bump up. I used this book against Deathwing, well, a Dark Angels player recently, and full disclaimer, the game was great, there's no ill will or anything, I'm just trying to make everyone understand the perception or the point I'm trying to really reinforce. I'm just trying to bridge a gap, trying to make people understand. But obviously he was using his his Deathwing and Ravenwing formation thing. I'm not sure what it's called because I hardly ever play against Dark Angels. And I'm not saying Dark Angels are overpowered or anything. It's literally just this is my perception, and whatever happened in the game happened in the game. It was fair game at the end of the day. So you had that, and you had the Knight, and I had me 2,500 points of just Traitors Hate detachment. Right off the, well, not right off the bat, but after the game, me and my opponent were talking about it, and we're talking about how Chaos Marine, well, my force had very few models as opposed to his. So again, when you've got loyalist players saying that Chaos are maybe a little bit overpriced, or pointing out that they may be a little bit overpriced, there's something iffy there, let's just say. In addition, what was it? In addition, yes, the difference between Traitors Hate and the Decurion, whatever they have for the Dark Angels, I played the Black Crusade with Raptor Talon detachment. For that to happen, you had to roll for every unit that came on. You don't roll once for the formation. It doesn't say that anywhere in the book. So I had a unit of Terminators, minimum unit, Combi Flamers, Power Mauls. I had a unit of, well, 2 units of 10 Raptors of Marks Ranesh, 2 and a squad of Warp Talons with the Lord attached to it with the X-Blind Fury and all that. I then had a Cyclopia Cabal with 3 Sorcerers with jump packs attached on each squad of Raptors from the Black Legion detachment, because I was using this as a Black Legion detachment, as you can, per the Black Legion rules. And I also had, what was it? No, I think that was it, really. I think that's all the stuff I had in reserve. So again, admittedly, that is a lot of eggs in one basket, but I want to get the full use out of my rules. If the rule says that I can deep strike, I can assault of deep strike, I kind of want to be doing that rather than facing the wrath of a rapid fire battle cannon. So anyway, we were playing around, we were playing the game, we got to turn 1, he managed to wipe out a unit of bikers with me Lord on a bike. That wasn't me Warlord. Me Warlord's typically the Raptor Jump Lord, basically, with X-Blind Fury, Mark-Con, Plasma Pistol, and Sigil Corruption, obviously. And what happened after that was I had to roll individually, but he could... His rules told him that he could call any time from, I think it was turn 2 onwards when they could come on, and he had all his Raven Wing with teleporter homers. So you could literally just place them wherever he liked. And there was no rolling involved. Now compare this. This is a recent book versus a book that came out probably last year, I think. Last year or maybe 2 years back. So, yeah. The Dark Angels managed to do all that, and yet the Chaos over here had to roll. And when I rolled, only me Warp Talons came on. So I had 2 units of Chaos Marines in 2 Rhinos, squad of Bikers on the board, and then the Warp Talons with the Lord arrived. Before that, me Bikers were destroyed, a Rhino was destroyed, I had 2 squads of Chaos Marines, and then the Warp Talon unit arrived. Playing by points, I tried to get Slayer the Warlord because I had some cards that told us that if I killed somebody with 3 or more models, because I was using Supremacy objectives, because I naturally geared my list towards Assault, and I feel the Supremacy objectives gear towards more Assault-oriented armies. If I took out his Warlord Belial, then that would give me a load of victory points, put me on par with him, or maybe even above. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. I did Deep Strike, I did Assault, and I didn't manage to kill Belial as I issued a challenge, and his sergeant accepted. He survived all the way up until the last wound because of the Apothecary in the unit, and then it died. Then the rest of the Dark Angels unit basically tanked all the saves and went in for the kill against the Raptors and overwhelmed the Warp Talons and killed them. And at the end of turn, turn 3? His turn 3, I was tabled. So again, this is a recent book versus an older book. Not by much, but it's still older. And already this isn't shown, this book isn't pulling its weight. Now admittedly, I was trying to test out Traitors Hate, and I think he was just trying to test out his formation. And again, there's no ill will here or anything. That was the game. It's fairs all round. But it does go to show that the Chaos Marines still have fundamental problems. When your opponent can just call it, doesn't need to roll, just calls it, deep strikes everything, happy as Larry, and then significantly overwhelms my force, yet I'm rolling for each individual unit time after time after time again. So I'm relying a lot more on Dice Gambit, and my opponent gets removes an element of randomness for efficiency. So again, randomness versus efficiency, efficiency always wins. Chaos has a random element problem at heart, and this needs to be addressed in the next codex, whenever that may be. Anyhow, so I think that's my only real gripe. I think next time I use this, I might trade out the Raptor Talon for some Renegade Knights instead. The only reason why I didn't do it the first time is because, and there's also a point, because I know a lot of people also comment down that is the Dark Angels niche and it is their thing to deep strike and go everywhere. So what's the Chaos Marine thing to do? Because the Chaos Marines aren't just all Word Bearers and Crimson Slaughter. Not everyone, like Khan here, doesn't like mutations. Well, I assume Khan doesn't like mutations because, well, have you seen the artwork for him? I can't see any mutations. If there's mutations, they'll probably be on his arm somewhere or something like that. I don't see mutations. Night Lords, for example, don't like mutations. Again, that's a stereotype projected by Games Workshop because I don't think they know the full direction they want to take Chaos Marines because they've crammed 50 Shades of Chaos Marines into one book. But that's a total different discussion for a different time, which I'll go into in a 40k and chill video, which is sort of part 2 to this video. This video is standalone, but to go into further detail about the points that I make, I will be posting up another 40k and chill vid referencing these points or going into more detail of these points that I make. So again, you've got this, and you've got the Dark Angels niche, or their generalization of what they do. So why can't the Night Lord shtick be Raptors, which I tried playing with, but why can't they all, like, do what the Dark Angels do? After all, when I think of Raptors deep striking, I don't think orbital bombardment like a Deathwing Terminator. I think they're like latched onto skyscrapers off the board, and then they jump down, hitting the ground as hard as they can. So they're already watching the board and all that from my perception of things. Why can't, you know, again, that's a small generalization specifically towards Night Lords, but that is sort of, if we're going by generalizations and stereotypes of armies, generally the Night Lord thing would be to play a lot of Raptors and Warp Talons. So why is it that I'm stuck mutating like hell when Night Lords don't really like that, and my opponent's got so many efficient ways of getting his stuff out, A, B, C, D, basically, you know? Again, that was a small, like, rant, I'll admit. Small rant, but it is my critique of the book. Compared to other books, it's not the best. Like I say, final comments on this is it's a good step in the right direction, and if you're playing against semi-competitive or casual folk, then you're going to have a whale of a time. You're going to enjoy it. If you are here for the meta game and you're here for the competitive game, at the most, be prepared to murder the fluff in the face. I've already seen it happen before this book came out, with Mark of Slaanesh Steeds joining up with Fleshhounds of Khorne, because demons and marks are different wordings, therefore they can join units. Unless there's an FAQ saying otherwise, but I did remember seeing a story on, I think it was Spiky Bits actually, about a guy of the tournament list doing this and then getting first in a tournament. If I find the link, I'll post it up, but hey, again, to roughly round this off, it's a good step in the right direction. They do address a lot of problems, or the main problem with individual units. Forge Fiends and Maul Fiends, they've got the Warp Pack Alpha and stuff like that. It smacks them across. The only thing I don't think they've really addressed is the Warp Smith. That feels a lot more ham-fisted into formations, but hopefully that might change with the addition of whatever the next codex may hold and whenever it may come. But aside from that, it's a good step in the right direction. We've got formations, the 7th edition formations plastered onto a 5th edition codex. I know it was made in 6th edition, but as I'll go into more detail in the next video that I'll do in the 40k and Chill vid, which is sort of the cliffhanger, it is a 5th edition codex by design, slapped on with 6th edition rules slapped on. But aside from that, this is a good step in the right direction. I do enjoy this for what it's worth. Against my group, I'm going to test it out, see where it fares, where it doesn't, where the Raptor Talon fares, where it doesn't, and if it turns out that I've just wasted a ton of money into a Raptor Talon, then, well, at least I've got Renegade Knights to back us up anyway. So there we go. So yeah, that is the end of this review. I enjoyed this book. I think I'm going to enjoy this for many more to come. Oh, bugger. One more thing to come. And that is copied and paste rules. As I said earlier on, it does feel like there are bits that are copy and paste from the Space Marine Codex. Now, some people like it. I personally, I can understand the Predator and the Linebreaker Squadron for the Vindicators and Predators. Totally get that. Totally understand. The Psychic Powers, however, I'm a bit conflicted, I'll be honest. And when I say I'm conflicted, it really basically means that I am sort of in between where I like it and I don't like it. I like it because I like certain aspects of them, because I like the Sinistrum powers where you can do -2 to the invuln save of a unit, and I like the fact that with Heretek powers you can make Land Raiders armor value 15. I like the small powers that give you buffs to your Psykers, especially when they've got 4 swords or 4 axes. It's a very nice touch. What I don't like about it is that it's a direct copy from the Space Marine Codex. And if I'm honest, I play Chaos because I don't like Loyalists. I don't like Loyalists because I find them bland, my personal opinion. just to see copied and paste just felt like a little bit lazy, but again, it's one of those things I'm conflicted about. I like it for its power, yet I kind of wish there was something different but just as strong. Or not, like I say, not stronger, just as strong. But again, like I say, aside from that, final words on this book. I like it for what it is and for what my groups are worth, because I'm with a variety of people. I play against a variety of groups. I play against a variety of people. For quite a few groups, I'm going to enjoy this book. Against a few others, I still need to test out. I can already see myself saying the majority outcome is I'm probably not going to use as much with other groups. I'm not probably going to use as many formations with other groups as I am for others. For example, like I've just said, I'll use Renegade Knights, but I do think I will enjoy this book. Like I say, it's a good step in the right direction, and I hope Games Workshop continue to build on this, because they've gotten a quarter of the way through there. They've addressed problems. They have, I wouldn't say they've fixed them, but they have amended them somewhat. They've started to build a bridge. To me now, because of this book, the only way they can go is upwards. Upwards, guys. I can't see that. I can see in the future good days coming for good, bright, solid days coming for Chaos Marines once again. So, aside from all the rants from the conclusion and stuff like that, I do enjoy this book, and I hope it'll come out soon. Sorry, I hope that we'll get more Black Crusade books coming out soon, or we'll get a new Codex coming out soon, because the only way is up now, I believe. So, thank you for watching, if you've had to endure a half an hour of ranting. Again, there will be a bridge, it'll be a little bit more ranty, but again, the 40k and chill videos are just me rambling and ranting. So, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you heard, and you enjoyed what you listened, you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe, hit the notification button, because I'm trying my best to paint up my stuff. As I'm painting up my stuff, I'm hoping to do more battle reports. There could just be simple things from Kill Team upwards. I don't know, but every little helps, right? You know what I mean? Start small, get bigger, get to 2,500 points, which is hopefully the big goal for this book, at least for me models. So hopefully we should see battle reports, not anytime this year, but hopefully next year. I'm being realistic with everyone there. So hopefully you'll see more battle reports. If you want to talk about anything in the description below, please comment away. I like talking to you guys and girls out there. And if you thought, or if you enjoyed this review and you think this review might be helpful for other people, whether or not to invest in this book or not, please share the video out there. Good to get the name out there. So thank you for watching. This is the Warp Forge signing out, and remember, keep on forging.